Okay, today's field note is with Lori Morrison from The Unlovely Truth.
Hi, glad to be here this afternoon.
And thank you for working around the schedules to get this done.
Sure.
Lori and I are quite busy, and so getting us together has been interesting, wouldn't you say?
It's a challenge. We like a challenge.
That's right. So today we're going to talk about actually a couple of things in Smithville, Tennessee.
Yes.
First one is about an attorney. Her name's Sarah Cripps. Is that correct? Sarah Cripps?
Cripps.
Cripps. All right. Should I start over?
No, we got it corrected.
Okay. Anyway, so Sarah went in front of the county commission. Was it the county commission?
I believe so.
All right. We may have to start over, and I knew this morning. Anyway, she went in front of the group of people that are supposed to be representing her as a citizen, and she wanted to let them know what she experienced. It is her experience. So do you want to start with that?
Well, I found that she was calm. She had prepared well. She knew what she wanted to say. She certainly had people on the commission that were level-headed enough that understood that as a citizen, she should be allowed to bring grievances to whatever governing body your area has, because that's how we work things out as mature adults. We bring up what's bothering us, and we're able to talk with other folks and find a solution. And I felt like that's what she was trying to do.
Now, what struck me was, first of all, someone said, give her 10 minutes, and a woman said no. So they had to
Give her
vote.
3.
Yes, and then said, give her 3. So she didn't even want her to talk, which again, you know, I hate to keep saying this, but I feel like we need to support women for the right to speak up. And
exactly.
If she went to the trouble of getting there, preparing, she should have had the right to speak up. And I'm always amazed when a woman shuts another woman down. I am going to go down that road on this.
Well, that surprised me too, that most of the people supporting her right to speak were men. Some of the women did, some didn't. I never felt like anybody explained why they didn't want to allow her to speak or why they wanted to give her such a short amount of time. So if that happened before the cameras got turned on, then we're not sure why that was the case. But again, I thought she spoke well. I thought she was calm. And, you know, whether you agree or disagree with the points she's bringing, she has the right to share her experience.
Exactly. And so she went through and listed out everything that she experienced. And again, it's her experience.
Right.
And, you know, I happen to believe her because I've dealt with that police department before.
Right.
So, and I've also dealt with, you know, they circle the wagons, and anybody who says anything outside of what their narrative is, they get accused of being a liar or a troublemaker, and people are mad. What really stuck out was when she said she was speaking up for people that wouldn't speak up for, she was speaking for the voiceless and the people that were afraid of retaliation.
Yeah, that's such an unfortunate position, that people would be afraid to simply share their own thoughts. As adults, as mature people, we ought to be able to share our thoughts with people that may disagree with us. We ought to be able to understand that different people can have different perceptions and experiences of an event, and that doesn't make them a liar. it means they had a different perception of what happened.
Correct.
And if someone thought that something that I was expressing was way, way, way off base, then tell me, why are you experiencing that? Or what are you basing what you're saying on, rather than attacking me as a liar?
Right.
No good, productive, forward movement is going to come when people are just butting heads, rather than being willing to listen and saying, I need to know why you're feeling that way.
Exactly. And what was also very interesting in the rebuttal from Sheriff Patrick Ray was he spoke to his policy and procedures, which I actually stopped and rewound the tape to hear him say policy and procedures more than once, because I wanted to see that he was saying he's got them. Because in Lauren's case, we asked for them. We have yet to get a copy of their policy or procedures. So he's falling back on a document that had been asked for and never provided.
Right. And certainly if you have adequate setup in whether it's your business, whatever you're in charge of doing, if your procedures are such that you're not afraid to let people question them, then put them out there.
Exactly.
And if there's because I know in law enforcement there can be things that are sensitive, you can certainly redact anything that you feel would compromise your deputy's ability to collect evidence or talk with witnesses or whatever. But I would think we've gotten policies and procedures from other law enforcement agencies in other cases. So I would think that, as long as you do have them and you feel like they're adequate, you should be willing to share them.
Right. It seemed to me that he uses it when it benefits him, or he believes it makes him look good, versus when a family's questioning him about his policy and procedures surrounding the investigation of the death of their daughter, they can't get anything.
Well, and I certainly understand that it would be frustrating to have what you're perceiving as someone challenging the way you're doing your job or your perceived integrity or your reputation. But at the same time, you're a public official. And part of your job is keeping your temper in check, making sure that it's about the job and not taking it personally to the best of your abilities. So, he had time to prepare. He had time to think out what he wanted to say, obviously, because he had the recording ready to go that he was getting ready to play. So he had clearly thought all this out. I would have expected a little higher level of decorum, no tit for tat. I was most disappointed to see, as people were applauding for what he had to say, I noticed a deputy applauding. And if he was just there as a private citizen, that's fine. But he was in uniform. He was standing as opposed to the crowd all being seated. And the area he was standing in made it look as though he was on duty. So if he was not on duty, fine, applaud if you feel like it. If you were on duty, that had no place. When you're on duty, you are not partisan. You can't be. You cannot be an effective law enforcement officer if you're partisan. So it was very disappointing to see that.
Well, also the other thing that Sheriff Patrick Ray said was that he was spoken to like a dog by this attorney, Sarah. I seriously doubt, from what I saw on that film, if he felt like that's talking to him like a dog, or if a woman challenging him is talking to him like a dog. So I know from my experience with Lauren's case that Sherry was so mistreated. And so I kind of wonder where his perception is with women and how he, if a man asked the same questions or speak to him in that way, would that be talking to him like a dog?
Yeah, my interpretation of that, I thought, surely you are speaking of some off the camera incident, because the way she's talking to you right now, I'm not seeing that at all. And again, even if she did, you're the elected official, you're the law enforcement officer. That kind of stuff, unfortunately, comes with the territory. And if you cannot handle it, then perhaps that level of authority isn't really for you.
Right. And he did say that every 4 years, the people's confidence in him, they get to vote him in or out. And
right. And it's a quirk of the sheriff system that there is no upper level of management. Only being able to be held accountable every 4 years, nobody gets that in any other job. So, he should be a little more thankful for that than he seemed. And I have said this before when you and I have talked, I've got to challenge people, when you are voting, don't just read the little blurbs in the paper. Don't just read the League of Women Voters recommendations or whatever you rely on, especially in a small town, small community. Talk to people that know the people that are running for office. See what kind of reputation they have for honesty, for integrity, for the way they treat people when they're not at a campaign rally.
right. And I looked up his election. It's in 2022. So people can speak up in 2022. And we hope that people speak up in 2022.
And if he is the candidate that the community wants, then that's fine. But I would challenge that community. And not just the sheriff's election. Any of your elected officials, your DA, your county commissions, anything, make sure you are an informed and educated voter.
Exactly. Exactly. I hear things are changing in that community, which I'm very excited about. There's some big news about to break in that community. So we look forward to covering that too.
Well, good. We'll have to do a new field note when that one comes out.
That one's big. Or maybe little, I don't know. So the next thing I want to talk about, Lori, is the young lady who came forward with the sexual harassment complaint.
Yes.
I think she is amazing.
And I have actually, for some other investigative work I've done, I've had some training in evaluating statements of women or men who have said that they've been sexually harassed or molested. And she was credible to me. She had a hard time making eye contact with her camera. She had to pause to regain her composure, even though this was not a recent event. It was still affecting her emotionally. So her reactions seemed genuine to me, and I found her credible.
Yeah, what concerns me is the fact that people know about this and knew about it, and no one stepped up to be her hero in this. And the letter.
I find that sad, but I don't find it surprising. I think about many years ago when I was a high school student, and we had a teacher that basically, same type of situation. Lots of girls had unpleasant interactions. Everybody seemed to know, and yet it was just, that was just sort of the thing that happened. And it's shocking to me now that that's how it was handled or not handled, to be more specific. But I hate to see that that's still how the system responds in some areas.
Well, and I think it's deep south. Bryant Dunaway, who was Lauren Agee's district attorney in her case. So I'm not surprised that this was swept under the rug. However, I'm surprised at his statement in the interview that he wouldn't want his family to have his family or his daughters having this
Right.
teacher. So what that told me is I have different set of rules, but the average common citizen has to follow another set. I'm privileged, and it's okay for other people to experience it, but not my family.
Yeah, that was a troubling statement. And for a second, I will play devil's advocate. I do understand that just because you have suspicion of a crime, you may feel as an AG or an AD rather, that you don't have enough admissible evidence to make that charge stand in court. I do understand that. However, I'm not sure what's gained by not at least trying.
So let me tell you, I have direct experience with Bryant Dunaway and his investigative ability. So my first thought to that's a great statement, and I agree with you. However, you have to investigate in order to make that decision. And we know in Lauren's case that he did not do an investigation. He actually shut me down and anybody else that had a thought regarding that, Sherry's attorney for one. So I personally believe that he did not do an investigation. I personally believe that this is bad press for him, but it's well known in the community that these things are going on.
Well, and I'm sure, different people have different opinions on what would constitute an investigation. So I would guess that he would contend that he did do an investigation.
In which case, Lauren's or this one?
He might well say he did in both. I don't know. I don't know the man. I've not heard him personally speak on either one.
Interrupt you here, Lori. He had a chance to go on the record, and the press was outside waiting for him to go on the record on his investigation, and he snuck out a back door to avoid the press. So I'm going to say I'm not buying it. Okay. But go ahead.
Well, and you've heard me say this before. Again, with the understanding that you want to feel like you can prove your case before you bring it to court. I don't have a lot of respect for, and you see them on TV all the time on reality shows. I'm such and such Susie prosecutor, and I've never lost a case. That's not impressive to me. To me, that says you only took the easy ones, and you let the ones that you thought you might lose just languish. And of course, nobody wants to lose. The family doesn't want to lose. But sometimes you have to at least try.
Right. Well, and I always say you have to step up and be a hero in that community. And, Bryant Dunaway, in my opinion, in Lauren's case, is not a hero. And this young lady, her life is forever altered because the adults in the community let her down. No one stepped up to be her hero, and she is strong enough and courageous enough to bring it to light. So I have so much respect for her and her family, and I hope that somebody comes along and mentors her, because she's going to be a strong voice for women. And yes. Shame on Bryant Dunaway, and shame on Sheriff Patrick Ray of Smithville, because not stepping up to do the right thing, in my opinion.
You completely hit the nail on the head when you said that this young lady, is incredibly brave. Because if you think about the position she's in, she's a minor, he's an adult. She's a female, he's a male. She is the student, he is the teacher. The power balance is completely tipped in his favor. She knows that she's going to be dismissed. She knows that she's going to be ignored. She knows that some of her peers are now going to ostracize her, if not harass her. And yet, as she said, because she didn't want this to happen to other people, she's not worried about herself. She wants to make sure it doesn't happen to other people. And that takes a lot of bravery. That takes a lot of courage for her to step up.
And it reminds me of the Harvey Weinstein case. If women beforehand had stepped up, then all those women would not have been harmed. So bravo to this young lady. I absolutely think that she has done the right thing, and we need more people like her.
Yes, and it's hard. So when someone does step up, support them. Give them encouragement. You have no idea what trauma she's endured. Thinking about that, losing trust. She said she even changed the way she dressed to try to make it stop. You know, she shouldn't have to live like that.
No, and then going back to the meeting with Sheriff Ray and Sarah, when she stood up to speak her mind, there she is being shut down, and no less by another woman. Shameful to me. Absolutely shameful.
Yeah, everybody was very quick to want to make sure that Sheriff Ray had his say. Not nearly as quick to let her have her say. And one of the commission or council members said that he wanted to speak as well. And they adjourned the meeting.
Right.
So their own governing body isn't allowed to speak.
Right. And I think that's the biggest thing with the internet and podcasts. People are shining a light on what's going on in small town politics. In Smithville, Tennessee, it's growing, and they want tourism and they want people moving in there. But look what you're walking into.
And this could happen anywhere.
True. And it does happen. We know it happens all over the country.
So, don't feel that if you're in a different state, a different socioeconomic region, or whatever, that you're immune from this. All it takes is people who want power more than they want to be of service.
Yes, and it's all my opinion on how I feel about what happened and what I observed. It's not even Lori's opinion, but I have experienced these people firsthand. So we're looking forward to the big or little news coming out of, that area in the next couple of days. And I appreciate you very much coming on.
Oh, anytime.
All right, so this is the end of the field note. You will learn a lot more on what's going on in Smithville, and we're going to have some links, and we will follow this story. And to the young lady, Elizabeth, who came forward, bravo.
Yes.